ISO 9001 2015 Quality Management System process flow is what we're talking about in this video. I'm going to give you a case study on how to identify a process flow for the construction industry so you can use it in your ISO 9001 quality management system, and equally you can look at an integrated management system approach to environmental and health and safety risks. We're going to give you tips and tricks on how you can create your own process flow for your management system to communicate with all your stakeholders. So stay tuned as we go through how to define and implement a construction management process flow for your quality management system, and we can also consider health and safety and environmental risks. Stay tuned. Okay, so we've been throwing around some ideas here at Best Practice TV. We're getting lots of questions from our audience, that's you guys, for a bunch of industry examples. So today, I'm just going to quickly workshop for you a process flow for construction management and construction project management. We have had a couple of inquiries from some pipeline builders, so they're constructing pipelines. We've had some from some construction project managers, and equally some more specific trades like electrical contractors, plumbing and drainage contractors, masonry contractors, civil works contractors. So what we're going to do is I'm going to build out something that's generic. You can have a think about how it applies to your industry. Think about how you can make what I show you in this case study a little bit specific. So the first thing I want to just quickly talk you through is what is the generic flow, in my view, that your organisation would follow through. So we're just going to start with a couple of boxes as we define the process flow, and that is we're going to go through what we would call our master plan, if you like. Then we're going to talk about our design phase. Then we're going to talk about our project management phase. And then we can maybe talk about completion. So there's a couple of questions as we go through this exercise that I would ask. We need to start this, or one of the things that's important to consider is starting this with the end in mind. So if we're talking about completion, we've obviously got a bunch of stakeholders. So don't forget your stakeholders, and we'll do a stakeholder analysis for you in another video. But in this instance, let's talk about clients, or your customers, if you like. Let's talk about our staff, subcontractors, and let's talk about, say, our shareholders. Now, I appreciate that a bunch of your organisations are going to be privately owned, smaller organisations, so your shareholders might also be the people that run the company. Your managing directors and your CEOs and your vice presidents will also probably be shareholders. But just think about that. Now, in terms of the completion of the project, we want and this is all about construction, so I'll just write this here. So anything that's sort of in the construction industry, we want an amazing asset. So whether it's a building or a house or a commercial project, factory, and so it could be residential construction, industrial construction, commercial construction, public sector construction, government construction. We want to create an amazing asset because I'm very passionate about the construction industry, and I like to see the construction and creation of amazing spaces and amazing projects. Now, we obviously want that to be something that becomes then a valuable investment, and the investment gets a return for our shareholders. We want our contractors to enjoy their part of the project, our staff to enjoy their involvement, and obviously our clients and customers to be happy so that they'll be happy and they'll refer work, but also they might come back to us for more services if they're a developer. So we've got to start with the end in mind. So when we get to the master planning phase, we've got to be talking about all the sorts of things. So what we're talking about is a process flow here, and inputs and outputs. And we are talking about, with the new ISO 9001 2015, risk management and a risk-based or risk-based thinking approach. So at this stage, starting to think about what could go wrong. So we want to talk about inputs, and there's lots of videos in this YouTube channel talking about inputs and outputs. So some of the inputs, up here are the requirements, they're the budget, they might be geographical issues, all those sorts of things in terms of inputs, the site, they could be industry risks. All those sorts of things become inputs, and then some of our outputs. And this is where we start creating, maybe, so that we can keep track of it, some of our documentation. So things like registers, could be plans, specifications, all those sorts of things, and contracts. So all those are sorts of things that are coming out as outputs to this process that then we move into the design phase. Now, as we overlay this and we look at an integrated risk approach, my question is, what are the risks? And that might be where we start to build out a risk register, just as an example. It's a good way to start. What are the risks? And then we can talk about, so it's the risks and controls. So we're starting to think about in ISO 9001, in 14001, the Environmental Management System standard, the OH&S standard, ISO 45001, with any of those integrated risk approaches to this exercise, we want to, and we can go into risk management in more detail. This is just to give you a high-level analysis. To go through each of these phases, master plan, design, project management, there's more detail to each of these steps, obviously, specification and requirements and the design phases and revision numbers and versions and all that sort of stuff. Project management's going to have a program. You've got your Gantt chart with all the things that are happening in the program, to get the project completed on the due date. And then obviously what happens as part of completion and handover over here. So at each of these stages, we want to be asking questions about what could go wrong. Really simple. Just keep it really simple. Just say, we've done projects before, what could go wrong? Maybe you've just finished a project, and I said start with the end in mind. We've just finished a project, we've done this before, we've got industry experience. What went wrong on a previous project? So it could be, what could go wrong? What went wrong? We ask that question as well. They're two really good questions to start to build out our risks and start to think, well, what went wrong, what could go wrong, and could it happen on this project? And if it could happen on the project, then we want to start to put some controls in place. So as we put the controls in place, we do this process flow. Again, our risk register, if you like, starts to grow, and we've got the risks identified for each phase. And if you want to see how to set up a risk register, you can have it vertically, and you can have all of the process flows vertically down your risk register, or you could be looking at your risk and integrated risk flow. So you're moving through and you're carrying risks across. If there's site-specific risks, customer risks, one of the big things obviously with this is budget. So you blow the budget, and you spend all of the money too quickly. So what are going to be your continued controls to manage cash flow as part of your quality management system? What are the safety issues that continue across the project? What are the environment issues that continue across the project? So really good approach to managing from a process flow perspective, integrated risk thinking or risk-based thinking. Now, the one thing I haven't talked about yet in all of this is what are our positive opportunities? What are the opportunities to have a more sustainable project, a safer project, an amazing project from the customer's perspective? So it's what opportunities? I'll just call it ops. So what are the positive opportunities that will make this amazing and gets everybody on board? So we can start to look at opportunities and what are the controls, if you like, to ensure that we're going to leverage those opportunities as we go through. So there are our risks. And we go through here, risks related to that stage, risks over here related to that stage, and risks at the end. And the opportunity that I'd talk about here from your organisation's perspective is the opportunity to have your customer speak very highly of you at this stage. At the end of the project, the customer is in love with you. They're so pleased. They're absolutely amazed with the project, the construction project you've just implemented. And that's that ultimate objective, so that you elicit love, joy and surprise with your customer. So what is all the great customer service stuff you can do through each stage of that project using your risk management framework? Now equally, it's important to consider, well, have we, what went wrong? We ended up in court with our customer on the last construction project. What could we do on this project to prevent ending up in court? What could we do on this project to prevent accidents and incidents? What could we do on this project to prevent environmental damage? Or what could we do on this project to have a more sustainable outcome? So when I talk about opportunities, it's what could we do? So I've done them in this order where we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, because it's really positive. You're taking a really positive framework. Start positive. What could we do? What are the opportunities? What could go wrong? What went wrong? And it's really positive framework. It sets your mind up. It controls your subconscious to ensure that we're thinking positively about this project right from the very beginning. If we get too bogged down in risk, it all gets very negative. And I want you guys to be thinking positively about what are the amazing things that we can be doing on this project. And if we have people in a positive mindset and we're leading with a positive approach, we get positive culture. And we know that when we have positive culture, we get good high levels of compliance. That positive culture and culture affects compliance and performance of organisations. So there is a construction management process flow with inputs that we can start to talk about, outputs that we can start to talk about, and I can go into more detail in that. If you have a look around the YouTube channel at some of the other videos, you'll see more detail around inputs and outputs, particularly if you jump onto our training academy and do one of our courses. We go in depth into inputs and outputs, particularly in the ISO 9001 Essentials course that we have here on the Best Practice Training Academy. We'll put the link to that course in the description below the video. So we go into in-depth. If you want really in-depth support there, we've got a great course that you can purchase online and you can do that course. I'll take you through that step by step in a lot of detail. But here's a really generic flow where you can go through and you can say, right, how do we do the process flow? What does it look like? Just some really, keep it high level, basic, simple steps to follow. Inputs, outputs, and your risks for each of those phases. And that's an integrated risk approach with risk-based thinking for ISO 9001 2015 construction management quality management system that considers environmental management and also health and safety. So if you like this video, hit subscribe. We love having subscribers on the channel. Then you'll get the most up-to-date videos as we drop them 3 to 5 times a week. Have a look at what I'm doing personally on LinkedIn. My handle, we'll put in the description below, is @KobeSimmet. Hit the follow button and follow me on LinkedIn for my daily videos that are coming out. I think we've got daily and sometimes 3 times a week if we get really busy, videos on LinkedIn, and have a look at the Best Practice Certification company page on LinkedIn and you'll get all of our up-to-date information and you can follow all the free stuff and equally have a look at the Training Academy. That's what funds this whole process, all of our great courses that we've got to help you every day build a safe, profitable, efficient, fun, sustainable and growing company in your organisation. So stay tuned, lots more coming your way. Hit subscribe, comment below if you want, if you've got questions, comment below if you want a video specific to your industry, and we'll see you soon right here on Best Practice TV. Bye for now.